Can we not raise him, raise her, make them decent human beings, realize a bit of the glory that is within? Is it necessary to make them remain like this, worse than cattle all the time? This kind of thought was the subject of meditation, and while thinking of this, tears pouring from his eyes with tremendous feeling, a heart of a Buddha you could see in Swamiji on that rock. There he decided, earlier during his travels in Gujarat, some people had put this idea into his head: here nobody will appreciate you in this country. You are one of the wandering sadhus, that is all. Go to the West. They will appreciate your intellect, your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience. That idea had been put into his head. In the course of wandering up to Kanyakumari, that took root. That took a specific form. That there is a Parliament of Religions in Chicago, September 11, 1893. You can be the representative of Hinduism there. But our people are so impractical, we did not send him as a delegate. You must have an association, pass a resolution, we send so and so as the delegate of Hinduism to America. We never did any such thing. Swamiji also never did any such thing. He just, when Ramarola writes beautifully, he said he knew I have only to go to win. I did not worry further. That feeling was there. Holy Mother also wrote a letter to her that all the show going on there is for you. You go, I bless you. Sharada Devi, that blessing. Ramakrishna also gave a vision to him at that time. So Madras, young people gathered together, arrangements were made. Finally, he goes to America from Bombay. That's the second time coming to Bombay. Maharaja of Khetri of Rajasthan also helped him. And so, May 31st, 1893, he left Bombay for the West, ostensibly to attend the Parliament of Religions. But when he reached there, first Vancouver there, railway, from there railway to Chicago, he found Parliament is still 2 months later, sometime in September. How to live here? Where is the money? Every day money flows out. Costly life there. He was worried. Then something happened. That something has happened many times in Swamiji's life. As if today when you look at it, you feel as if some divine drama is taking place, each person being given a part to play in the drama. That you can see in many cases. One such case is coming now. Somebody said, go to Boston. It is cheaper to live there these 2 months. So he said, okay, we shall go there. He also learned that he is not a delegate, so you cannot get admission to Parliament. That also he heard. Everything was chilling in a foreign country. Under the British rule there is no free government of India to help, all alone. Only his intellect, his spirituality, his courage, that alone was there to help him, and the blessing of Sri Ramakrishna. So he travelled by train to Boston. He was a professor in the train. He was the professor of Greek in Harvard University, Professor Wright. He took interest in him, found a wonderful scholar. So they talked all the way. He said, you be my guest in Boston. All the better, I have no place to go. So he became a guest there. Talks went on. He was so impressed by Swamiji's brilliance, broad views. He asked him, why don't you represent Hinduism at the Parliament of Religions? I do want to represent, but they said, I have no credentials. I have no credentials. Swamiji said. Then Professor Wright made a famous remark. It is there in the life of Vivekananda. To ask you for your credentials It's like asking the sun its right to shine. He did not merely say in words. He took pen and paper, wrote a letter recommending Swamiji to the Parliament of Religions Committee. In that letter, you find one sentence. Here is a man more learned than all our learned professors put together. That is the impression Swamiji created on Professor Wright. He and his wife remained Swamiji's friend up to the end of their life. So much. So later Swamiji started back to Chicago. Where to stay in Chicago, he doesn't know. So the train came too early in the morning, in the evening, no place to go, where to spend the night. A box was lying there in the railway yard for goods. He entered that box and slept there, just like in India. Just imagine, a day later, he is going to what you call electrify the whole world by his speech. But the previous day, he is absolutely a beggar, lying quietly, unknown, in a small box, railway box. So morning, got up, became very hungry, started begging here and there. Begging is not allowed in America. They insulted him, get out from here, go, like that. Then comes again a second drama, divine drama. He sat on the roadside under a tree. One lady from across looked and found a strange type of person. She was attracted to go to him to ask him who is he. That was Mrs. George W. Hale, the Hale family, Swamiji's eternal friends, they remained thereafter. She came, are you a delegate to the Parliament of Religions? Yes, I have forgotten the way, I don't know anything. She took him into the house, gave a bath, dress, food, everything, and drove him to the Parliament of Religions, where they had arrangement for the delegates to stay. This one lady and her husband and children, they became Swamiji's eternal friend. It is as if God has appointed them to play this part, and He had appointed George Wright to play that part. Many more such cases will come later on. Now comes the Parliament of Religions. The house in which he stayed, the granddaughter of that owner of the house has written her reminiscences of Vivekananda in her house. Most beautiful, very inspiring. She was a girl of 5 or 6 at that time. Swamiji used to play with her and talk to her about India and all that. I also met her in Chicago. I heard her lecture, my reminiscences of Swamiji. There you get a wonderful picture of Swami Vivekananda. What impression he creates on anyone with whom he comes in contact. There is actually a book, Reminiscences of Vivekananda, by Eastern and Western people. It is worth reading. How greatness is so compelling. In spite of you, you are attracted. A college girl hears a Vivekananda who was in Chicago is coming to my town to speak. She became excited. Then she will come to my college also to speak. Becomes more excited. No, he will stay next room. Became still more excited. And she writes her reminiscences. I have forgotten what all he said, but his personality I can never forget. Such things you will get in that book. So now Parliament started. It was meant to be a Parliament of religions. Thousands of delegates from all over the world have come. Swamiji had no delegation, but Wright's letter got him the opportunity to be included as a delegate. Everybody sat, huge hall, and there Parliament began. First, welcome to the delegates, and the delegates replied to that welcome. Swami was asked from morning onwards by the President, Dr. Barrows, you speak. He has never spoken before. He had once spoken in Hyderabad just in February before going to America. Otherwise, he was not a speaker. He said, not now, not now, not now. Morning over, afternoon came, nearly 4 p.m., now or never. Then Swamiji said, okay, I shall speak. Then he stood before the podium, just looking around the whole audience with a prayer to Goddess Saraswati in his heart. He addressed the whole audience as sisters and brothers of America. It was like a magic. The whole audience started clapping, clapping, clapping for 2 minutes. They had never heard this kind of thing, that we are all sisters and brothers. He spoke from the heart. He spoke from the heart of Indian culture. Others only spoke of ladies and gentlemen the usual way. After 2 minutes, first he thought, have I committed a blunder? People have become excited. Then he understood. He has entered into their hearts. Then for 5 minutes, a brief speech, reply to the welcome to the delegates. That is the speech. Every child in India must memorize that speech. Just a para. Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart with joy unspeakable to respond to the welcome that is given to us. I come from a country which has taught the world tolerance and universal acceptance. We have in our bosom all religions, early Christians, Parsis, all who came as refugees, India welcomed them. That is the religion to which I belong. I am representing that here. Then he quoted the Gita shloka, Ye yatha mam prabhadyante, from through whatever paths men come unto me, I receive them through those very paths. And in the end he said, there is so much persecution, intolerance, violence in the name of religion. But I am hoping that the bell that tolled in honor of this convention this morning shall be the death knell of all such persecution in the name of religion. Let us hope so. That is the first lecture. That was enough. He had captured the American mind and heart thereby, because the best minds and hearts were in the audience. And through newspaper reports, glowing reports, the rest of America also came to know this. Vivekananda was undoubtedly the greatest figure in the Parliament of Religions. After hearing him, we consider how foolish it is to send missionaries to this learned nation. It is better they send missionaries to us than we to them. One newspaper wrote like this. All the papers were of this nature, full of praise, but the bigoted Christian missionaries, they never liked it. They tried to blacken him all through. Throughout his 4 years' life in America, even later coming to India, this blackening process continued. Today's Christians are ashamed of it, but at that time such fanaticism was there, such narrowness was there. India is only a land of heathens. There is absolutely no culture. That is how they taught the American people, that Hindu women throw their children to feed the crocodiles in the Ganges. Such books are written for children's education in American schools. You can see them in some of the recent books you will find. So Swamiji showed India in a new light. This is the great country. Then he read a paper on Hinduism. Another day he spoke on Buddhism. So many times he was called upon to speak. And one particular event is when one speaker is speaking, rather prosaic audience begins to leave. then immediately the president will get up. At the end, Vivekananda will speak a few words, and all will sit down. And the papers wrote. The chairman knew how to keep the best audience together by mentioning Vivekananda's name, that is all. So, from 11 September to 27 September, series of sessions, he spoke. All of them you get, the complete works of Vivekananda, volume 1, the beginning itself, Chicago Addresses. One paper on Hinduism. The profoundest truth that he uttered there, which fell like a bombshell in the Christian world in America at the time, was quoting from Shvetashvatara Upanishad, addressing all humanity as children of immortality, not children of sin. It is a sin to call a man so. It is a standing libel on human nature. Call up the divine that is within. This is the way India presents the nature of the human being. In the West they are taught you are all born sinners. The only way is to believe that Jesus' blood will save you. That is the sum and substance of that religion. And this is the first time they were hearing this great message from the Upanishads, that I am quoting that famous shloka, Shunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putraha Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastuhu Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Adityavarnam Tamasat Padastat Tamev Viditva Adimurtimete Nanya Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. Hear me, ye children of immortality, all over the world. The message is not confined to India or to Hindu. Vishve Shunvantu, let the whole world listen. I have a great message to convey to you, even to the gods and angels in heaven. Let them also listen. That is the first sentence. Where from you got this message? From books? From hearsay? No. Vedahametam. I have known it. I have realized it. Vedahametam. What is the truth? Purusham Mahantam. The infinite man behind the finite man. Physically we look finite, limited, truncated, but within us is an infinite dimension. The infinite Atman shines in every one of us. That is the great teaching of Vedanta. So, Purusham Mahantam, Aditya Varnam, luminous like the sun, Tamasat Parastat, beyond all darkness and delusion. And the Upanishad did not stop there. Believe me that you have the divine within, then you will be saved. Upanishad did not say. Try to realize it for yourself. Believing in somebody else is not going to save you. So, Tameva Viditva, Atimurtimeti, Nanya Pantha Vidyate, Ayanaya. Realizing this truth hidden within you, then alone you can save yourself from death and delusion. There is no other way. There is no other way. Nanya Pantha. No other way. No other way. Realize this truth. Swamiji spoke this language. It was like a bombshell on that audience. The first Vedantic bombshell, I call it. Creating thinking. What is this? Today's science speaks of human uniqueness. Sir Julian Huxley, biologist, has written a book called Human Uniqueness, Uniqueness of Man. Man is unique in more ways than one, he has said there. At that time, it was not there. Man is a sinner, absolutely down and out. That's all. Only believe in a particular dogma, then you will be saved. The whole thing was turned upside down. Everybody wants to hear this message. America itself is a land of freedom. Americans believe in themselves. They don't believe they are sinners. Fortunately, they don't believe. Therefore, they could develop their nation. So, this message was carried all over America, rest of the world. Sometime later, it came to India also. This gave the opportunity to Swamiji to enter into the heart and mind of the American people. Invitations came from various towns and cities. Like Chicago, the second city in which a tremendous effort was made was Detroit, where these bigoted missionaries tried to spoil Swamiji's name, make people not to come, but thousands came. Not only so, the governor of Michigan gave a reception to Swamiji. All the distinguished people were there. And Detroit is also famous that it gave two devotees to Vedanta, to Swamiji. One is Sister Christine, the other is the second one. Well, close friends. Christine later on came to India, worked in Calcutta for women, etc., etc. There's a later story. So that is the Swamiji's perception. Town after town, town after town, he went to deliver this message of Vedanta. Originally he thought he could raise funds to work for India's uplift. Later on he found that is no use. Let me give something to these people. They are hungry for it. They want to hear this wonderful message of Vedanta, so full of strength and fearlessness, faith in oneself. That's the teaching of Vedanta. We are all one. We are only physically separate. Spiritually we are all one. So throughout America, these things went on. He visited England, a special invitation from there. So many lectures were delivered in England. And a second visit also to England, he went, returned back to America. In England, he got two precious human beings as upholders of Vedanta. One is Mr. and Mrs. Xavier. He was captain in the army, retired. He was in search of truth. He attended Vivekananda's one lecture, crowded lecture. After the lecture, both of them came out. Each said, "Is this young man truly what he seems to be?" The other said, "Yes." "Then we must follow him. We must follow him." And literally they did. Swamiji wanted to start an ashrama in the Himalayas. Xavier said, "I shall do that for you." He sold away all his property, came to India. Today what you call Advaita Ashrama Mayavati is the product of work of these two great people, Mr. and Mrs. Xavier. Xavier passed away very early, before Swamiji passed away. Mrs. Xavier lived much longer. So that is one. Second is one young intellectual lady, Miss Margaret Noble, full of spirit, in search of truth, agnostic, not believing in this current religion that is taught there. So she went to hear the lecture. She was so impressed. Second time she came to the lecture, she addressed Swamiji as Master. You are my teacher. Suddenly. And from that time onwards, she became a daughter of Vivekananda. She has written a famous book later on when she came to India. Nivedita, sister, what you call Miss Margaret Noble, came to India, later on became Sister Nivedita. Swamiji initiated her. She started school, girls' school, etc. She helped Sri Ramakrishna. She did so much political service to the people. And when she died, Tagore wrote an article in praise of her, that when Nivedita speaks of our India, there is more passion in it than when you and I speak of our India. A foreigner like Nivedita. She is the Loka Mata, the mother of the people. These are all Tagore's words. One sister Nivedita later on. So England gave these two, one couple and this lady, Swamiji, you want to work for Indian women? I am ready. I will come and educate Indian women. Swamiji was very satisfied. Yes, you are the type we need. a lioness. Our society cannot produce such women yet, but we want you now. So come and welcome. And she came to India. A third contribution of England to Swamiji is memorable. When Swamiji was speaking in America after the Parliament of Religions, they were employing stenographers to take the lectures. Most of them could not take lectures properly. He was a fast speaker. They were in search for a good stenographer. A young English boy had come to America for a job to New York. J. Goodwin. He offered to do that service. As soon as he was given the job, he could run fast in stenography. As soon as he finished the work, they tried to pay him. No, I don't want any payment. Swami is doing so much work for the world, I will be his servant. From beginning to end, he remained Swamiji's servant, a student and servant. He passed away very early because later on, all the English and American lectures, all the Indian lectures about which I shall tell tomorrow, all this is taken by this J. Goodwin, one single young English boy, dedicated as it were for this cause. Later on, when he came to India, stayed in Madras for some time, came to Ooty, and he passed away 98 or 99. He was hardly 28 years old at the time. Swamiji said, "My right hand is gone." That was the feeling he had. We have erected a memorial in Ooty where he is buried. It took some time to find out where he is buried. Being a poor man, no name is there. So we consulted all the church books and found, yes, J. Goodwin, St. Thomas Churchyard. So we took permission from the Archbishop, Calcutta, who was a friend of mine, then the Bishop of Coimbatore, and about 300-400 people joined together, a beautiful memorial where his birth, his death, and Swamiji's poem on him, all that is written there. Anybody who goes to Ooty can see it when you go from the race course through the road to the Maharaja's palace, Mysore Maharaja's palace. On the way, this falls. So this is the story. Now in America, Swamiji also published books on Vedanta, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. All these, Jnana Yoga is mostly lectures, Karma Yoga is class talks and writing, Raja Yoga is dictation and taken by Miss Waldo, Emerson's granddaughter, you can say. So many people came together to help Swamiji in the work in America. In the midst of all this very busy schedule of work, he wrote series of letters to India, to workers in this country, to inspire them to create the new India. Those letters are highly inspiring. Tomorrow I shall be telling that among the two books that every youth must read if he or she is to make life really meaningful, purposeful, and not empty, it is these two. Lectures from Colombo to Almora, that is lectures in India. And the other is letters of Vivekananda, especially from 1893 onwards. Up to 1893, ordinary letters. Inspiring letters come from 1893 onwards up to 1902 when he passed away. Now these are the two books that created patriots who joined to fight for freedom. Highly inspiring literature. But after independence, people forgot all about it. That's why we are down and down and down, not going up and up. Something is missing in India. That will come tomorrow. So in this literature for yogas, all these books, good sale, people want to read more, questions, answers going on. Swamiji did 4 years of work, the best part of his life in America and England. The best part of his life. He knew that the world is hungry for this great thought of India. Earlier, ancient Greeks had turned to India to learn our philosophy. From the Upanishads, so much went to Greece. One writer speaks of Plato being highly influenced by the Upanishads. So, there's an old tradition, Indian thought, going to the rest of the world silently, quietly, without any violence, without any army. India has never gone out to conquer any country during 5,000 years history. Swamiji repeated it again and again. India's contribution to the world is spirituality. It has done it throughout the ages, and in this age it is going to do in a big way, and the Western people are asking for it. They are not thrusting it on them. This is the only message for which India doesn't spend a pie to spread around the world. The receivers pay for it. What must be the nature of that message? Just imagine, in any other religion to convert one person means 20,000 rupees to purchase his soul. But not so Vedanta. I have travelled 15 years round the world. All they paid for it. Not only that, they will pay some more as an offering of devotion, because this is a profound philosophy. They understand it. No one can stand challenge of modern science. And so scientists also like this philosophy, that teaching of the infinite nature of man. In one single sentence, Tat Tvamasi, Tat Tvamasi. You are that, you are that. You are not this truncated physical frame. You are that infinite one. That is Chandogya Upanishad. How many scientists quote this wonderful line, Tat Tvamasi, Tat Tvamasi. You are that, you are that. Today, all over the world, South America, North America, and now the whole of Russia is simply mad to get a little bit of this literature, even a photo of Ramakrishna or Vivekananda. They are not able to get it easily, and most of the books are in English, a few in French, some few in German. Very old times they are published in Russian also. So now there is a real search. Swamiji, when he was in England, he met two great professors, Professor Max Mueller, one who popularized Advaita in the English translation. He wrote a book on Ramakrishna. First an article, Ramakrishna, a real Mahatma. Second, a book, Life and Sayings of Ramakrishna, from information gathered from Swamiji and others. That is 99. Ramakrishna passed away 86. In 13 years, a life has come in London on Ramakrishna. The other is Deussen, Professor Deussen of Germany. Great lover of India, Sanskrit scholar. He could lecture in Sanskrit. And that Deussen has written a book, Vedanta Philosophy. He was in Bombay 1892 after his visit in India. A farewell meeting, he gave a farewell talk to the people of India. You have a great culture, you have a great philosophy, don't forget it, hold on to it, I request you. Then he said, the Bible teaches, love thy neighbour as thyself. But why should I do so? There is no answer in the Bible. Answer is in the Upanishads. Because you and your neighbour are one. You are essentially one. The same Atman in every being. That is the teaching that is there. This is what Deussen said at that time. Now here you have the wonderful impression made on a German professor and German professor in England. Max Mueller is actually a German. And many intellectuals and others as well. That was the time Swamiji felt, after 4 years, I must go back to India. So many letters went to him. When I was returning, all the time in the West, we want you more here, we want you more here. And he used to reply. In one reply, you find a beautiful sentiment. Says, I am here among the people who love what I teach. I shall certainly come to India. I love India. But what is India, England or America to us? We who believe that you call man, but actually he is God in disguise. I serve him here or there. That's what I am doing here. Like that he wrote. Finally, he decided it is time to come to India. So 1897, January, he left England to come to India. And then the drama that took place in India at that time has been so beautifully described by Monsieur Rolland. When he read about Vivekananda and Ramakrishna, he was fascinated. Tagore also met him at that time. So when he found him interested in India, Tagore told him, if you want to understand India, study Vivekananda. In him, everything is positive, nothing is negative. That inspired him. That brought him to study the literature, all in English. He doesn't know English. He didn't know. His sister knew English. Sister will translate into French. And then he wrote that book. And the best critical, appreciative books on Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, you get in these two volumes, Life of Ramakrishna, Life of Vivekananda. That is the later development. But later on, one more book has come from Isherwood, the English writer in America. He has also written Ramakrishna, a great phenomenon. So Western writers are writing. Now many books are coming now. We are now concerned that this Vedanta, this Ramakrishna's message, is meant for the whole world, not for India only. But India must be strong and steady to be able to deliver that message. How to reshape that India? That is the work Swamiji did on his return from his 4 years' work in the West, landing at Colombo in January 1897. That subject we shall take up tomorrow. It is a fascinating subject, inspiring subject. How many people in India are missing reading this literature? Something great will come to them. All that is petty and small will change. A bigger man will come out of the smaller man. Today we have so many petty, small men and women. I call it, we are in a big country, but small people. Small people in a big country, full of pettiness, full of violence. All these things are there. Those things will change when they get education in Vivekananda literature. His words are great music. Let me now alone quote Rolland's remark about Vivekananda literature. Vivekananda's words are great music. They are like Beethoven's symphonies. They are like the stirring rhythms of the march of Handel choruses. I cannot touch these words of Vivekananda separated in books of 30 years distance without getting a thrill to my body as an electric shock. And what shocks and transports must have been produced on the people who actually heard them. This is what a foreigner writes about Vivekananda literature. Our people need to be shocked out of all these pettiness and complacencies today. Here is the literature for that purpose. So tomorrow we shall deal with that part of Vivekananda's drama, that act in India, how he came, how he was received, what message he gave, All these things will come as a subject tomorrow. So now, thank you all. Namaskar.